Hello, Scott Haskin here, and I have some behind the songs videos that I'm doing for my first Haunted Holidays album. This would be Deadly Christmas, and originally I was just going to do one album, and I thought, as I was trying to decide what stories to work off of, I found so many that I thought would be good, but I wasn't sure if I was going to do more than one album, so I didn't label it Volume 1, I just labeled it Haunted Holidays Deadly Christmas. And then when I decided to do the second one, I did volumes 2 and 3. This was just an idea I had about taking stories that we're very familiar with and twisting them into something that was completely the opposite of that, or the concept sort of that history was masked by the versions of things that we are accustomed to. So, you know, we take the things that we have been taught kind of for granted and say, well, this is what history was, but we know that history is written by the victor or a completely non-involved third party who says, this is what I think happened, and we just take that as fact. So this kind of goes along that concept of, you know, something happened, somebody wrote a song about it, but over time it got twisted and retold to be a little bit different than what we thought. So that was the original idea, and there was a guy that narrated YouTube videos for things like paranormal and cryptozoological things. And I thought he had a very interesting narrating voice that I really liked, and I thought, you know, if I could do something along that line, I think that would be very powerful for the album. And his name is Rob Dyke. He's also known as Gavagan, I think. I couldn't even come close to what he does. My voice is nowhere near similar to his. The cadence that he has did not come off the way that I had initially wanted it to, but I was very happy with what I did. Initially, the entire album was going to just be using that one narrator voice. I hadn't really considered anything else, but we'll get into that as I get to the songs that used other voices. I'm pretty sure it's safe to say that the first song that I finished was Jingled Bells. And I really don't know where the story came from. I'm not sure how I came up with the idea. I just started writing, and I thought, you know, almost like a journal style. And I thought, well, whatever I like, I'll keep, and I'll turn that into lyrics, and whatever I don't like, I'll discard and kind of rebuild around what I do like. But it really just kind of flowed. I didn't have a specific anything in mind when I started. And it wasn't until I got towards the end of the song when I started talking about the bell being attached to the bobtail and all that, that I even really thought about, you know, it would be cool if every song had a tie-in, or most songs had a tie-in to the actual song, so that you could kind of see some sort of connection between the two. And so having that on there, and then you've got, you know, bells on bobtail ring, you've got the sled and the horses and all that. I thought that was kind of a neat way to put it all together. And so that became something that I kept in my head as I was working on each individual song after that. Just to tell you a little bit about the album musically, I really wanted it to be very ethereal, supportive of the dialogue, but also kind of, you know, independent, that if you like, just like good horror music or soundtrack horror, you might want to listen to it without the dialogue, even though I haven't released that yet. But I really had it to make it work around the dialogue structure as well. So where I knew I would be taking a pause to have a brief musical interlude, or you know, if I just wanted a musical section or something to support that and kind of let the story carry out a little bit, I really wanted it to be focused around that. So I found it a little bit challenging to work with the dialogue because I wasn't sure how I was going to place it, where the sort of tempo of the dialogue was going to be, with allowing for those spaces. So what I started to do is I started to record all the dialogue first, and then place that in the file as I went and built the music around it. And that seemed to go well. I did that on all 3 albums. I think I did it a little bit better on the second 2 because I kind of had a better feel for it at that point. The experimentation was certainly on the first album. To get around volume levels and all of that, I panned the dialogue just straight center, and then I used what's called a ducking compressor, where you take the all the music, or whatever music is going to be highlighted that you want to sort of dip down in volume to make room for the dialogue. So I would pick 3 or 4 specific instruments, and I would route them to a bus where I had the ducking compressor. Then I would duplicate the vocal track so it knew where to pump in the dialogue to dip down the volume. So as you hear the dialogue, you've got the music, then the dialogue starts, and you dip down the volume, then the dialogue stops, and the volume comes back up until the next bit of dialogue. And you'll hear little bright spots in the music as well, where the dialogue pauses for a breath or in between words. But it's fairly subtle. That was a real challenge to get that right setting for it. Once I had that setting, and I recorded all of the dialogues at the same time, or within a couple of days, so they were all set at the same volumes, and I spoke fairly consistently, so that really helped. You could compress things and do things to kind of maintain those certain ranges of volume level, but I was able to do it more organically as I had hoped I would. So that made the ducking compressor work a little less hard, but it was really a trick finding that right level, because if you duck it too harsh, then it's very obvious. You really want it to be natural. You don't want to notice that the music is dipping down or that those instruments are dipping down. You just want it to happen without it being something that is conscious for the listener. So it took a little bit of playing with it to get that to work. In fact, for a while I thought I was just going to have to do it by hand because I could not find that level that I was looking for. But once I did, I was obviously very happy. So that was basically the structure of the album. And for Jingled Bells, it's one of my favorites. I think it sets a great tone for the album, especially with the little bits of percussion and things that come in and just kind of give you like a bit of a racing heartbeat. But I'm very happy with the story that I wrote for this, and I hope you guys like it too.